One, two, three.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRNAM for Monday, August 7th, 2023. And our top story today, as mortgage rates near 7%, homebuyers begin to distance themselves. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Deidre Woollard is with the Motley Fool. Deidre, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Happy to be here.
All right, we're going to break up our show today into residential and commercial. So let's start with the residential and let's start with mortgage rates. They've really ticked up. You read all the news these days, close to 7%.
Yeah, close to 7%, which is, really the highest it's been since the early 2000s. But I feel like the sticker shock is abating a little bit. So there is more activity. It just takes time when you have a big shift like this, when you go from 2 or 3% to close to 7%, it takes time for people to make that adjustment. And it makes a big difference in how much everybody is paying each month.
But of course, and I understand that financial decision, but has it really created a lot of headwind in terms of buying, especially if you're that new buyer, if you've never bought before? Is it creating the headwind? Or are there other factors that may be saying, I'm gonna hold off for a little bit before buying a piece of property?
Well, every time you and I talk, it's about the inventory, right? And so if you've got a 2 or 3% mortgage, you're not really interested in moving into a 6% mortgage. So inventory isn't getting on the market. And yeah, that is absolutely affecting first-time buyers. First-time buyer rate is down a couple percentage points from where it usually is. And I think you and I have talked before. The boomers are the biggest buyers right now. It should be millennials, but it isn't. It's boomers who have the money to make the move.
Yeah, they do. They do have the money, and I think you and I have actually really broken down a lot. Let's talk about the inventory though, because last time we chatted, there wasn't a lot on the market, and there seems not to be a lot on the market. Are we building more? Are construction companies and contractors actually building more? Are they doing more like refurbishing work to existing properties?
Not as much refurbishing work, just because there's not as much inventory on the market. Home builder stocks are doing great. Home builders themselves are still, I would say, a little bit cautious. So absolutely, new homes are selling a lot. We're not seeing the rate of permits go up. It hasn't skyrocketed. So home builders are still waiting. But the interesting thing is that new homes are just a bigger part of the market than they usually are. So home builders kind of have to save the day here, at least until inventory gets back online.
And you mentioned homes are the bigger part of the market. Where do condominiums, townhouses, single family homes, multifamily homes, is there a trend? Are people looking at, I guess it depends on your age and if you have children or not, but are people looking at certain properties over other properties?
This is kind of one of the things I find frustrating, is that the quote unquote American dream is still the single family home. So that's really what a lot of people want. I wish that more people were interested in multifamily and that more builders were incentivized to build great multifamily developments. We're seeing a little more development in terms of townhouses, so attached houses in communities. Home builders are doing more of that, but I'm not seeing a lot of multifamily development for sale the way I should. But multifamily development for rent is still going strong.
You bring up the American dream, and my personal American dream is I don't want to mow the lawn and I don't want to fix the roof. So I'm kind of lean towards the condo, and I'm not like I can't do that. I'm only 50 years old. I can mow the lawn, but I really don't want to get into that. Last question for this segment, Deidre. When you look at what's selling, what sells a home or what sells a piece of property, is it still the kitchen, the dining room? I mean, what are some of the key areas of the home that people are looking at? I mean, are there features or things that prospective buyers or prospective sellers need to think about?
Well, you kind of mentioned something that's a trend, which is people don't want to do a lot of work on a house. So there is not as much of a demand for fixer uppers. There's really a demand for new homes. I don't want to do a lot. I don't want to have to renovate the kitchen. I want things to be sort of clean. There's still that trend towards minimalist, modern, clean. There's been a debate about open floor plans, but they seem to be here for the long term.
Yeah, last question. I said that was the last question, but I lied. I want to ask you, in terms of maybe the appliances, we're drilling down really, but I think New York State, some other states have really put the kibosh on certain types of uses of certain types of energy. Is that having an impact when you're a buyer? Pardon me. When you're going to look, you want to have an impact on the environment. Are people looking at doing, non-natural gas ranges and things like that?
Yeah, the gas debate is an interesting one. I recently was at the National Association of Realtors Economic Summit, and one of the things that they talked about was that the baby boomers that we just talked about, they're actually really interested in the green features. We tend to think of it as a younger generation thing, but that's not true at all. So yeah, there absolutely is a demand for energy saving. One of the things that I think is most interesting is battery storage in the house. Companies like Tesla make that, you have the solar panels on your roof and that converts to storage, and having battery storage is important because it's been hot and we've seen rolling blackouts. And I think that's going to be a concern going forward.
Yeah, and certainly in some of these areas where they have hurricanes and other, we all lived through Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast, and a lot of people lost power, especially in New Jersey, New York. Deidre, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at commercial real estate. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Well, Deidre, thanks so much for sticking around. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2 this morning.
Let's talk commercial.
Yeah, and this one, Deidre, there have really been a lot of headwinds. We've talked about this with you and others. People are just not returning to the office, even though there have been some mandates, that good old M word, to do so. How's the commercial, when you look at the commercial real estate market as one big pie, how's it doing?
Okay. I mean, office still is dominating the conversation. We're about a month away from seeing where things happen in September. But that is the segment that is dragging things down. Segments that are doing better are industrial real estate, still growing like crazy. Data centers, the demand for AI is going to put increased need for power in data centers. That's a sort of long-term trend. Retail still strong. Hospitality, I mean, it seems like everybody's traveling this summer, so hospitality real estate is doing well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that in particular. Every time I turn on the news, there are delays, flight delays. Seems like everybody and their mother's traveling, whether they're traveling by plane, train, or car, automobile, I guess to quote the John Candy movie. Have hotels bounced back post-COVID? Seems like they are or have.
Yeah, they absolutely have, and Airbnb is also doing quite well. So yeah, it's a good time to be in the travel industry. Although the thing that we saw a little bit this summer was that everybody went international, so a little bit of a drag on rentals for the U.S. domestic market this summer.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I know that this is not the travel segment, but I know there are going to be some new visa requirements if you're traveling to Europe. I guess we'll have to see how that all fleshes out. Deidre, let's go back to retail for a little bit. Those malls, I haven't really been to a mall in a while. You know, when I need something, or my wife needs something, we may go. But are people hanging out and are people buying in these indoor malls, or have they turned into the outside malls, like in old Roman times, the old Roman marketplaces?
Well, I think this story with malls is the outlet malls. The outlet malls are doing incredibly well. The traditional malls at the high end still pretty strong, but in the middle there's definitely a lot of weakness. But that was a story even before the pandemic. But the outlets are booming. I was at the Tanger outlets recently, and yeah, those parking lots are always full.
They always have really good deals too. Again, we're not talking about clothing often on this program. I mean, with you. But there are some really good deals. You can get some good stuff. You don't have to pay full price on that. Deidre, let's talk about data centers again. And you brought up AI. We have been tracking this for a long time, as I'm sure many others have. NVIDIA has superior earnings. We were talking about ChatGPT before we were even talking about NVIDIA. What does this mean for data? I mean, you've got to have, if we are offloading our data or you need to do a lot of processing, you're going to need a lot of data centers to house the data and also the computing power to process all this information in real time.
Yeah, this is sort of a long-term trend. It hasn't been a great couple of cycles for data centers, but they're sort of gearing up because everything that we do with AI takes more processing power. So with more processing power, you need more chips, and everything runs a little hotter, so you need bigger data centers. More cooling, which is a little bit of a concern for water to cool those data centers. Certain companies are trying to find other ways to cool the data centers. But yeah, we're going to see long tail demand here, probably going to scale up over the next couple of years.
All right, Deidre, last question, and I promise I'll let you go. Let's talk about REITs for a few minutes. There are lots of different ways to buy property. You can buy it as direct investment, meaning you buy the full property, or you can buy a portion or all of a real estate investment trust. How have REITs done relative to their public-private direct counterparts?
REITs have had a not great time in recent months. A lot of that is office dragging things down. Multifamily is still pretty strong. The office is down over 24%. So that's really dragging everything down. And commercial and multifamily borrowing, that's expected to fall about 38%, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. So all of that is dragging down REITs. I still love REITs for the long term. I'm a REIT investor, but certain segments are not outperforming the market at this point.
Yeah, well, I was reading just to kind of as an aside, I was reading a story that said that REITs may not come back until 2025. That's like a year and a half from now. So I guess we'll have to see how it does. Deidre Woollard, always a pleasure chatting with you. Great breakdown as always. You're just fabulous. Great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Good to see you. Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, somebody you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, and visit our website. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
But if you're tired of the same
Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.